Good morning or hello. This is Stacy Sanderson, and I wanted to take some time to talk about smear campaigns, just defining them as well as a few simple tips for how to cope, because everyone's situation about this is going to be a little bit different. But by definition, a smear campaign is when someone sets out to control a narrative about a situation, as well as to intimidate you, perhaps. I think that's often the case, and to influence the way other people see you or perceive you. This may be about someone wanting to influence the outcome of something. So, although this isn't the most common example generally, it is the most common example I hear. So, as typically a woman, although this can work the other way, is leaving a highly narcissistic relationship, right? If she's leaving someone who's highly narcissistic, often even before the conversation has happened about the separation, that other person will start talking to other people about what's going on. Now, this can often and usually includes if there are any children. I'm going to say that again. So, if you're someone, woman or man, wanting to leave a relationship with a narcissist, they will very likely start with speaking to the children about what is going on and what is wrong with you. Okay. But then that goes sort of outward in a concentric circle pattern where there will be an inner circle of people they speak with and an outer circle. It's not unusual either for a toxic person, be they borderline or narcissistic, or just really, really hurting and not at a level of consciousness to know what to do, right? They can also start to post things on social media. Now, we would like to believe that you're going to hit grandiosity, so to speak. Like, these a smear campaign is going to be a demonstrator of the toxic person's grandiosity. And that is not what I've witnessed. Typically, they will move into a victim identity. So think about the impact on a child if you have a parent in this victim identity, right? Okay. They will garner support and they will also try to turn people against you. And this is also the early stages of the campaign that will play out in the legal sphere. I would say toxic people also come to therapy to start to share that narrative with a therapist and frankly get a written record, right, of what's going on. So a smear campaign tends to make us think of what happens in politics, right? It's an obvious example. What happens in our personal relationships, however, is a little bit more insidious, a lot less intentional, and at times not very conscious. I also have seen when your toxic ex meets someone new, and that person is as toxic or more toxic, they've got an ally and a tag team partner and a powerful weapon. And they will co opt them into that smear campaign, right? And often these people can appear very, very kind or warm or loving, or I'm going to use some more strong language here, they're grooming the children. Okay, they are establishing a level of trust and influence with those children to use against you. And I wish there was some obvious things I could point out to you. That one of those things might be that they may try to be too close to those kids too quickly. They may start playing house, if I can be a bit sarcastic, very quickly, and they may seem like they want to befriend you or be unboundary, just like any toxic person. So those are some preliminary flags, right? So it's really important that you get boundaries, and it's also really important that the children have a sense of what's okay and what's not okay. So things like sleepovers early on are not something I would endorse, right? Even if that other parent has a lot of custodial rights already. And I mean sleepovers with a new partner. So again, this new person on the scene has been like the front row seat to that smear campaign against you, or the narcissist or toxic person is triangulating and comparing their new partner to you, and that breeds this insecurity. And so, boom, there they are, right on side. They're being manipulated too. But often, what I see play out is just this contempt from the new partner toward the individual who's just trying to get through, even though they haven't done anything. But it is usually part of triangulation. And in a sense, all of the smear campaign stuff is also about a form of triangulation. Often, what underlies any kind of these toxic narratives is that someone wants what you have. That's a pretty common thread. It feels terrible. So the other place where this can play out is within friend groups and certainly within work situations. I've been on the front end observing and experiencing what it's like to have someone go gunning for you in a work situation. It's not good. And it can lead to decreased morale, decreased work performance, stress leaves. But usually you will have a toxic individual, 9 times out of 10, they're narcissistic, who develops a sycophantic, which is a fancy word for suck up relationship with levels of management. They will tend to position themselves into some place of power or influence and then start to say things about you. Now, it's also been my experience that they'll go and talk to people and report back what other people have said. But a smear campaign is really, if someone targets your work performance, your personal life, they're belittling and what's the word? It's too early for me still. Belittling or maligning your work. They want to influence how other people see you. Now, they may want your job, or they may just want you gone, or they're just jockeying for position. But it's not at all uncommon that the person who engages in this smear campaign is someone who was a friend or an ally, or it seemed like they admired you. They may even have copied you, and I don't think that's uncommon at all. So, smear campaigns are, in their essence, a form of triangulation, but it's also from a clinical point of view. This is a very clear example of someone's attempt to gain dominance and control in an interpersonal situation. And the more out of control they feel, the worse it's going to be. And I think much of what they're saying feels real to them, right? I don't think they're as creative as we make them out to be. Coping mechanisms, regardless of whether this is a marital separation, a bad breakup, a friend group situation, a work situation. Document. You want a timeline. You want to screenshot. You want to be able to have you can use a whiteboard, you can use your phone, you can use your computer. I really like the idea of a timeline or a binder where everything is in chronological order. Now, part of this is in case you need it for legal reasons, but part of it is also helping to organize and feel what feels really chaotic, right? It helps you feel like you have the upper hand. The other piece of this is energetic. Stay out of situations if as best you can where you're going to be around these kinds of people. If this is a kid drop off and pick up situation in a separation, choose a neutral place with a neutral party. Do not meet with these people unless you're in a public or neutral place. Do not rebut. I repeat, do not swing back. That reminds me, one of the new traits that's being considered to be added into the diagnostic criteria of narcissism is vindictiveness. And believe me, that's that is the underlying interpersonal impairment or pathology that's driving this behavior. So sorry, that's just a little bit of a sidebar there. Coming back to how to cope, keep a journal. To how you feel is important, and have a small circle of credible, empathetic, compassionate, strong support people. Be careful who you speak with. Be very discerning in who you share information with. Take radically good care of yourself and make that a priority. Eating, sleeping, exercise, doing things you love to do. Radical self care includes doing all the things that make you happy and bring you joy. So, if you work with me, you know I talk about this a lot, but it will help, right? There's not always a lot you can do to influence this. So, you have to let it go. Many of you are highly codependent, and codependent control is your go to try and influence the outcome of things. Release that and focus on you and your life. And if I can be kind of if I can offer up a cliche, stay rooted and grounded in living your best life possible. It's up to you whether you broadcast or advertise that. You may not want, maybe you shouldn't, but this is where the focus needs to be. And so that you can anchor into what's real and what is the projected delusion of these very toxic people. The next piece is to, if you need to document your own stuff that you're doing, keep track of what you're doing. I have a number of people who work with me around parenting their kids through toxic separations. Document that. It's key. And be rooted in your own strength, whether that's courage, probably not, empathy, kindness. Stay true to who you are. Don't drop down into that same lower vibrational behavior. Be careful not to do that, right? So I'm trying to remember. There's a little bit about this in my book, not a lot. And I'm going to be uploading this on YouTube, and it'll go to Facebook as well. But if you'd like to continue in this conversation and really take a closer look about what's specific to your situation, please reach out to me. And as usual, subscribe, get in the conversation. Find me on social media, Stacy Sanderson at Inquire Within on both Facebook and Instagram. And the healing in this isn't just in your own individual work and understanding. The healing is in the collective, is in finding and connecting with like-minded people, and that's a really big part of my vision and mission. So, I have calmed down considerably from when I was first going to talk about this. One should never go onto a public platform while they're angry, and I've come back into a more heart-centered place, and I hope the same happens for you. Take good care until we speak again.